think a conversation needs to be had. I think a conversation needs to be had when it comes to coaching in the WNBA. I think a conversation really, really needs to be had when it comes to coaching, because there is such, in my opinion, there is such a big gap in the best 3 or 4 coaches and the rest. Like, if you look at well-coached teams, in my opinion, there is so much of a gap between the well-coached teams and the badly coached teams. And not enough teams this offseason went for what I thought they should have done, which was going and hiring coaches that have coached out there, coached at high levels. And by the way, Cheryl Reeve is an exception as a pure WNBA coach. Cheryl Reeve is an exception. But if you look at a lot of these, like a lot of teams in the WNBA right now, and the Mercury is a prime example of it. So if you look at these teams, and if you look at the standings, the Seattle Storm have kept Noelle Quinn as a coach. Why? I don't know. She's not a very good coach. The Aces brought in Becky Hammon. Becky Hammon, whether you love her or hate her, Becky Hammon was Greg Popovich's main assistant coach and was in talks. People were saying there were talks of her going for the Chicago Sky job. There were talks of her going to the Sky job. The Lynx, again, Cheryl Reeve is an exception. But you look at the Sky. The Sky have a coach who's known as a player development coach and struggles with in-game situations. The Fever have a coach who flamed out at Vanderbilt and did a really good job of dragging in Connecticut. The only good coaching job she's really done is when she's dragged teams down to their level. And she's a coach who has best known for overperforming with little talent. Valkyries, Natalie Nakase, I'm not even going to complain about her. I don't know anything about her. Lynn Roberts, I don't know what the hell is wrong with the Sparks. They just look terrible. The Dallas Wings hired Chris T. Sides. Like, I actually don't know what the Dallas Wings were thinking. I genuinely don't know what the Dallas Wings were thinking with that coach. He's terrible. And Rashid Mazian just has the worst team in the WNBA. Like, I don't know about Natalie and I don't know about Rashid because their teams just suck. Their teams just aren't good enough. Their teams just straight up are not good enough. But one of the biggest example I will give is Nate Tibbitz. So if you guys know anything about Nate Tibbitz is the highest paid coach in the entire WNBA. So Nate Tibbitz, it was a highly, highly regarded NBA assistant coach. He was a G League coach. He was an assistant for the Magic for years. He was a super highly regarded assistant coach in the NBA. And he got hired by the Phoenix Mercury. And the old WNBA fan base were going berserk. They were like, it's unfair that he's getting paid this much. It's unfair that he's being hired. You know, he has no experience. His only experience is he says he has daughters. That's the closest thing he's got to coaching women's basketball. He's got no experience. And last year, I watched the Phoenix Mercury play, and I'm like, I said it coming into this season, that Nate Tibbitz is either the best coach in the WNBA or he's a complete con artist. Because this guy runs the most obscure things you will ever see. And I'm watching this Mercury team this year. And by the way, came back down 18 without Alyssa Thomas against the Sparks. I know the Lynx didn't have Fee, but ran the Lynx extremely close. The games they've lost one game to the Storm by 7 points. They beat the Sparks, obviously, but like he has taken a bunch of players that were deemed not good enough for the WNBA, and Catherine Westbeld, Alexi Howells, who's been decent, Monica Cohen-McCanny, who, by the way, is leading the WNBA in clutch points. She's leading the WNBA in clutch points. Kitty Alexa, who has been exceptional, who is a sniper, and you've got like Satu Sabli out here saying first year playing under Coach Tibbitz. I would truly say it's the first time I've been coached to my limits. I'm grateful to being put in those positions. I like to handle the ball, get off screens like a guard. She's averaging 21.3 points. And by the way, I still think Satu is a negative motor and all of these things. But you can work around that. You can work around players not really playing defense and having negative motors. If you are actually a good Coach. If you are actually a good coach, you can work around players' weaknesses. You don't need to say, okay, this is what my player's weakness is, so we need to hide players from their weaknesses. No, a good coach works around the player's weaknesses and builds around the player's weaknesses and strengths. The Phoenix Mercury, the way they are playing basketball, and it's funny people use the pace stat like it's, the pace stat just means the teams are playing faster. It's like, no, the Fever aren't playing faster. The Fever literally just shooting dumb early shot clock shots. There's a difference between running and playing dumb early shot clock shots and shooting them. And when Alyssa Thomas is healthy, her pushing the ball up the floor, spreading out around Alyssa Thomas. Even Kalani Brown's out there shooting some threes. Do I think she's good at it? Hell no. Hell no, but even Kalani Brown sometimes is out there shooting threes. Like, Kalani Brown's terrible. And she's even being effective. Has Haley Jones, did she play many minutes? She played 4 minutes. Right, they brought in Haley Jones. Obviously, they got rid of Uzun. It is, like, it just shows what a good coach can do to a team. And by the way, another elite coach, and it doesn't have to be, coming from the WM, or it doesn't have to come from the NBA. If you look again at the, obviously the Mercury are good. If you look at the Atlanta Dream, how they're playing under their coach. When they want to be, they're this fast up-tempo team. When they want to be, they're a slow, grinded-out team. Because they can do everything they do. They're just winning. They're just winning. Like, this team on paper is not that good. It's not that good. Like, it is a team that's actually, like, preps for their opposition, and just wins games. Just gets wins. Other than a fluke loss at the start of the season. You've got Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard looking exceptional. Alicia Gray is looking like she's in the MVP conversation. Ryan Howard's a little bit too inconsistent to be in the MVP conversation, but she's not far off it. She's not far off it either. Right? Like, there's going to be 2 All-Stars on that team. Even Bree Jones is playing well. Griner, is struggling, but even Bree Jones is killing it. Like, there is a huge level of coaching. And I said this, by the way. That the Indiana Fever should not have gone to Stephanie White. Stephanie White was my is better than Christy Sides choice. I might be wrong on that one, but like, when Stephanie White left the Connecticut job, I'm like, okay, she's gone to Indiana, and I'm like, she's better than Christy Sides. That was a lot of my take on it. But the problem is that, again, outside of Cheryl Reeve, because Cheryl Reeve has a perfect team to play old style pass and cut basketball, off ball movement, few pick and rolls, except for Courtney and freaking Fee in the pick and pop. She's got the personnel because she's got a lot of defenders, she got a lot of length, she got a lot of shooting. She's got a lot of that. And you have got so many coaches that are just here for vibes. You have got one of the most successful college coaches in Carl Semesco. It is very clear that there are coaches that are coaching in 2025, and there are coaches that are coaching in 2007. There are coaches that are coaching in 2007, and there are coaches that coach in 2025. Tyler Marsh I rate Tyler Marsh as a basketball mind and as a coach. I don't think he's a head coach. I don't think his in-game decision-making is good enough. I don't think his player management, in my opinion, I don't think is good enough. I don't think his rotations are good enough. Like, that's just my opinion on Tyler Marsh. I think Tyler Marsh is a really good coach. I don't think he's a good head coach. Again, I don't know about Nakase. Lynn Roberts, maybe it's just the personnel with her. A lot of injuries, so maybe you give her a pass. But, like, you can see that there are Noelle Quinn. You can see in fairness, Cheryl Reeve is the best example of the old WNBA coach. She's just an unbelievable coach in general. Maybe the philosophy is in modern basketball, the most modern basketball, but she is a really good coach. I'm not going to question Cheryl Reeve. She is like the freaking Greg Popovich almost of WNBA coaches. But you've got Chris Koklanis, who doesn't seem to have a clue. Rashid Mazian does not have the personnel to play the way he wants to. And an inability to adapt is a bit of an issue. Stephanie White does not have the personnel to play she wants to, and she's trying to turn this Indiana Fever free-flowing offensive team into last year's Connecticut Sun, who played puke ball. And it is Someone said modern basketball is throwing up threes. No, modern basketball is getting the best possible shot. Modern basketball is, you can play inside out, you can play outside in. Modern basketball is literally if you shoot more open shots than your opponents for the totality of the game, you're going to win. But WNBA basketball is, let's shoot pull-up middies. Let's shoot pull-up middies all game for 40-something games. But yeah, it is a huge thing in my opinion when it comes to coaching. And I've just noticed it watching the Mercury. I'm watching this team and I'm like, on paper, this team should suck. On paper, this not even should suck. Isn't unbelievable. But you've got all these players that know their role, that play their role perfectly, and even when Alyssa Thomas is out, are adaptable. With the Indiana Fever, you've got a coach who players don't have a role, players aren't doing any of this. And you might be saying, oh, the Fever are a new team. This is an entirely new team. There is not one player. By the way, if you look at the Phoenix Mercury roster, people are like, oh, there's a couple of new players. The key 4 players for the Fever are still the same 4 players. There is 0. I'm not joking when I say this. There are 0 players that are currently healthy that played for the Phoenix Mercury last year. And they're already clicking. Why? Because their coach is very clear what their roles are. They know exactly what they're doing. If Alyssa Thomas comes out, they know exactly how they're going to be going into each game. And it's genuinely just, you can see the coaches that know what they're doing and the coaches that don't in the WNBA. And there's a very clear, in my opinion, Becky Hammon, Tibbitz, Nate Tibbitz, Cheryl Reeve, who's unbelievable. Cheryl Reeve's unbelievable. And Smesko seems to know what he's doing. Really seems to know what he's doing. And outside of that, there is such, like, I think there's a very small gap. Again, we'll see with Roberts and we'll see with Mazian. But there is and same with Nakase. Nakase seems to be okay, but there seems to be very few mediocre coaches. It genuinely looks like there's a lot of real good coaches that are winning teams games and a lot of real bad coaches that are losing teams games.